Hi there, this is Ginny Bolling with Pivot to Prosperity, the podcast brought to you by Pivotal Real Estate Investments. And we are doing an interview today with Scott Kidd. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for coming.
Hey, thank you very much for having me on. Glad to be
Yes,
here.
you're welcome. I'm going to read your bio and then we'll let you fill in between the lines, okay?
Perfect.
So, Scott Kidd has over 25 years maritime experience, including new builds, refits, project management, and yacht management. He's a licensed USCG master of 1600 US tonnage, 3000 international, all oceans, with a background in IT and a strong mechanical background in maritime, transportation, machinery, and heavy equipment. And has a beautiful picture of a nice boat behind him. In his career, his cruising includes the Mediterranean, Gulf Coast, including Mexico, Great Lakes, Pacific, Alaska to Panama, Canada to Florida, Caribbean, Bahamas, South China Sea, really cool places. In any case, he has been a multifamily real estate investor for several years. He is invested in multifamily apartment syndications in Ohio, North Carolina, Oklahoma, and joint ventures in Florida. He runs a monthly meetup group, Yachty Real Estate Investors in Florida, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm, and Stewart. And he is going to fill you in on what wasn't in that bio.
Do
Go ahead, Scott.
you,
Welcome.
do you want the short or the long version? But
Do the short so we have time to
sure,
talk about everything else.
short. Okay. Well, I've been doing multifamily investments for the last several years. I originally started like a lot of people with single family. As my family got bigger, bought another house, rented it, moved to the next house, and then went along with there. And then one day I just originally started like a lot of people. I figured I'd buy one house every year or every couple of years. And then in 10 years, I'd have 5 or 10 houses, and that would be pretty good. Be another pocket to put my retirement in. But I had a friend of a friend was in town, and we were all talking, and he told me one time that he had bought and sold a 46 unit in Houston, and he'd made quite a large sum of money. And I said, "You can do that?" And he said, "Yeah, you can do that. Anybody can do it because I can. I did it. Me and my brother did it." And so that kind of the light went off there. So I started learning as much as I could about it, and then started networking and going from there, and just eventually started my own meetup group and networked with a lot of people that were actually doing it. And it got me here today because I originally started because the industry I work in is very unstable. You can be here today, gone tomorrow, from hero to zero all in the same day. And so I wanted to have the passive income to where, if I do lose my job, I can one have the cushion, and also to where I don't have to jump into the next thing, which might not be the right fit for me or the other or the boat that I'm jumping on. So that's basically it in a nutshell. And today I'm working on a variety of different things, which, if I didn't get started, I never thought a lot of these things were possible. So it's been really good to me.
That's awesome. That really is. And I got to agree. I mean, it is a light bulb. And I even worked in the industry for decades buying from other people and didn't realize I could be buying too. So it's really a wake up for
Yes.
most people, I think. But so terrific. And so of course I have to ask you about the boat in your background and if that's something like what you usually are driving, captain.
Um, well, the boat in the background isn't the boat that I'm running at the moment, but it is one of my like vision boats that before I hang up and close out my career, one of my goals is to build a boat as project manager, like the one behind me. This is a 100-meter Fed ship behind me, and it'd probably be about a $200 million, $150+ million project, which is something that I'd get really excited about, which I think would be really fun thing to do.
You're kind of keeping your goal in front of you, aren't you?
Yes, yes, definitely.
That's important.
definitely.
That really is helpful. I know. Well, good, good. So tell us about the first deal you got into.
The first deal I got into was like a lot of the all of the deals I've gotten into was I met through networking. I met my partner at probably one of the first meetups I went to where they weren't trying to sell me anything or weren't, trying to get anything out of me or anybody else that was there. It was just people hanging out, talking about real estate and had a really great time. And I kept in touch. She invited me, my partner now, she invited me in on this 13 unit as a joint venture, which is, as you know, a joint venture is pretty much everyone has to be an active participant. So we each put in a certain part and we all have active roles in the deal. It was in Port Orange, which is the Daytona area, and we still have that today. Been a great partnership. Everyone gets along great, and we've renovated pretty much all of the units, put a new roof on it. It's ticking over like clockwork. It's about 3 years later now, so it's just moving right ahead, and that led to an 8 unit after that, and then things progressed and got bigger and bigger after that.
Terrific. Yes. And that first experience can be critical and it's not always pretty, but the big
No,
thing is, as we know, because we belong to the same mastermind, we'll
yes,
recognize race masters. The going saying is to hurry up and fail
yeah,
forward. So you learn from
yes,
it and do better the next time. And it's so true, right?
yes. That's definitely something that I wished I would have done at a younger age is failed faster because then I would have learned quicker and kind of realized what my strengths and weaknesses are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally get that. Well, super. So, and I think in our conversation before we started recording, you mentioned self-storage. Are you into self-storage now?
Yes, I signed on with a group, Military and Patriots group. They're doing a couple of few new development deals, and they have larger company that's going to come in and do the management and possibly buy them afterwards. The one that I'm working on specifically right now is a 506B, so I can't really talk about it too much. The other one is a 506C, which is basically a similar kind of thing, but it's in a different area, different returns, different things like that nature. But the way I look at it is that it's a class A, they're class A properties and self-storage. It's always intrigued me because it takes less time to put them online. So it's about 9 months rather than about 18 months for multifamily. And you don't have tenants. It's kind of a luxury. It's an extra thing, like people put their stuff in it. You don't have any tenants that are paying rent to live there. So they don't pay, then after X amount of time, you put a lock on it, and you sell their stuff and you redo the unit. And like I said, it's class A, so it's in some great areas that are growing, which is very important. They're not saturated with storage yet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I like self-storage too. Tenants, toilets, and termites, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, usually
Yes.
because they're metal,
Yeah. The
yeah.
expense ratio is quite a bit less as well.
Right, right. Now we just used some terminology though that I want to go back on. So you're
Definitely.
saying class A and giving a quote on construction duration. So let me get you to go ahead and elaborate a little on that.
Well, Class A is generally 2000 build and newer, going to be at the highest point, the highest rates that you're going to be charging. It's all newer, brand new or newer product that is going to have all the new regulations and everything, all the new building codes. So it's going to be built very nicely, usually in a more affluent area that will demand that higher price. Returns are usually can be sometimes a little bit less because the price point's a little higher to get in, but they're more stable and less problems, less maintenance. Class B would be more of your, in multifamily, would be more of your like workforce housing, and Class C would be a little bit less than that. Class B would be 1980 build and above. Class C would be anything underneath that. And A, B, and C are, it's just a matter of your preference and what your risk tolerance is to what you specifically want. It all comes down to the person as the investor, what their overall goals are. Anyone can be a fit for any one of the any specific investor if that fits their plan.
Great, great. I think that might help some people. As far as the whether they're climate controlled or not, do you look for them to be all or partial or not at all?
Yes, I generally like the climate control better because you do charge a higher price point. You do have a little higher clientele. You're probably going to have people that have higher business, more revenue generating businesses, and they're generally going to pay the rent most of the time because, they have all their equipment and stuff, and that's their livelihood, and their stuff needs to be climate controlled and taken care of. So, you're going to have those people if they have their equipment in there, they're going to pay because if they don't pay, then, their business is out, and
Yeah.
the other stuff that they're going to have that needs to be climate controlled, it's going to be a higher price point of someone that can afford keep their stuff in a climate controlled environment, and they want to keep their stuff in good shape.
Yeah. Yeah. You would think that's a strong indicator.
For the most part, you never know though.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So the projects that you're involved with, what is it that you do with the travel, potential interruptions and whatnot? Well, first say how often you're traveling.
Well, I work right now. I'm 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off,
Okay.
but I do real estate 365 days a year because I love it a lot. And I mostly focus on investor relations, capital raise, and asset management because that's kind of what I do. Asset management, that's what I do on the boat. It's very similar. I can be managing up to $3 million plus budgets. I've managed higher than that. And you're managing, $20 million plus assets. You're doing everything soup to nuts, that goes in with that managing of that boat. So a property is not that much different. You have to get the right people in the right seats to make sure everything's covered, and you have a long-term strategy as to where, targets and budgets of where you want that property to be.
Right, right. And so tell us where you like to invest.
Or I like to invest at this point right now. I like Ohio, I like North Carolina, and I like Texas. Florida, I have not seen anything, not to say that there isn't anything there. I know people are still buying and finding good deals. The ones I've looked at, the insurance and the taxes have kind of pushed me out on that. So I'm still looking because I still love Florida. I just probably am going to move a little bit further away from the coasts because the insurance prices can be quite quite expensive.
Right. Yes. I didn't get a chance to tell you, I'm involved with the apartment association on the state and local level and national level. And we went to Tallahassee and we're lobbying for some legislative changes. And one of the things, of course, was the insurance,
Yes.
problems we have. And while we had some law changes, just so you know, between when the bills were drafted and those when they were approved, accepted, and formalized, and went into had an effective date, there was over 100,000 lawsuits filed.
Oh wow.
So until all of those are cleared out,
Oh
we're told
wow.
that the rates won't be coming down. So it's going to be
Oh
another year and a half probably.
wow.
So
100,000 lawsuits. That's quite a lot. And
it is, yeah. And
it's not just Florida. Insurance is going creeping up a lot of other places, Texas, it's the
yeah,
Gulf Coast as well, and East Coast. I know in Houston they've gone up quite a bit as well.
they have, but
So
we had the worst fraud.
yes, we
We
did
yeah.
because I think
But
the bill you're talking about is has to do with a lot of the tort reform, so people can't just it's more of a frivolous lawsuit type thing. Yeah, I think that's going to make a big difference, I think, for us.
yeah, supposed to. But so what I would say is that don't stop penciling. as
No,
much as you
no.
can. I've had
I
the
keep
same
looking.
problem.
I keep looking, you have to keep looking and keep underwriting or else those
Yeah.
skills go away. I
Yeah.
need, some as we were discussing before we got on, sometimes the best deals are the ones you don't do, because
Yes.
there's a reason why that happened and you might learn something else that hey, this might work. Doesn't work with this one, but it might work with something else, with another deal in another place. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And I hate that it's been a dry spell, but better that than, throwing
yeah.
good money after.
Yeah, better than a year or two long fire drill.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of people out there doing capital calls right now, as you know, and
Yeah,
we don't
it's
want to be
it's
one of
pretty
them.
tough. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty tough and for a lot of people didn't, we all didn't see the rates going up this high and a
No.
lot of things happening this quickly is just, it's unprecedented and a lot of them were trying to do the right thing and they just got pushed into a corner. So it's hopefully a lot of them get a chance to work with the banks or the lenders and are able to work through it. And, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. It's a pretty tough situation to be in.
Well, and I'm hoping to be in a place where people would call me if they wanted to talk about, trying to do some rescue type work,
Yes, rescue funding
partnering
and
up, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah, I've seen a bit of that, and I know there's going to be some opportunities there, and we're looking at that as well because there could be some good opportunity where as long as it doesn't water down too much of the returns from the other investors. Depends on what their tolerance is, if what they
yeah.
need to get done.
Well, how much equity is there too?
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
biggest thing. Yeah,
If
right.
if they have if they don't have much equity, chances are they're not going to do too much with it. If they
I
have a
know.
lot of equity, they'll try to save it, more than likely.
Yeah, and we all don't want to see the industry take a black eye. It's
Yeah,
it's important for us to work with each other as much as we can.
yeah.
So,
That's the key.
yeah.
Just surround yourself with good people and keep pushing ahead. Sometimes you'll take a hit, but that's life. You can't let it stop you. You have to just kind of move on, take your
Well,
hit
so
sometimes.
and a lot of it I think is too that the dry period, the tough part is the cash flow. If you can get through that part and have the the final bump at the end with the
Yes,
resell because of appreciation in most of these growth areas, you'll be fine. But
yes,
if your investors can't be patient or whatever, then it's a problem.
yeah. The thing that I see is that what people need to keep in mind is just you know maybe take a step back. Don't panic. Don't think it's the end of the world. Just kind of see what your options are because a lot of times there's a lot more options than you think are available, and that comes
Right.
with, hey, lean on your network, find
Yes.
new networks, uh, somebody might have a solution that you might not have ever thought about. It may not be pleasant, but it might work, you know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
you know,
And that's why it's really important, I think, to know your investors and to stay in touch with them so that
yes,
you're aware if there's something major that matters to them, hopefully they're telling us,
yes,
so that we know, if there's
yeah,
another consideration,
yeah,
especially if they're a primary.
yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, communication is key, and you find that that's key in just about every facet of your life, and any of your relationships. If you communicate too much, that's probably not a bad thing.
right.
If you talk too much, yeah, but if you communicate, over
Oh yeah,
communicate,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
fine. Yeah,
Funny, yeah.
yeah.
Well, good. Well, so I do want to go ahead and respect time here too. We try to keep these to 20, 30 minutes the most for the most part.
Perfect.
So if someone wants to get in touch with you, why don't you go ahead and say it? And remember, this isn't just video, it's also like on Spotify and iTunes. So go ahead and
Okay.
spell out.
That's
Yeah.
investwithscottkidd.com. investwith.com. That's investwithscottkid.com.
Okay, great, great. And we'll put in the show notes your links and whatnot too. And I wanted to also ask you, I almost forgot to tell us a pivotal person or event that happened to bring you to where you are now.
Well, I would refer back to that first deal that I did before we did a deal together with my partner Annette. We she was talking about a deal she was working on, and it was bigger than she was used to. And she said, "Well," I said, "How did you know to do that?" And she said, "Well, I sp spoke to this other person, and they made it happen." And I said, "Well, if they can do it, I can do it too." And I said, "That's right. Yeah." I said, "Yeah, they can do it. You can do it. And if you can do it, I can do it." And it was like, and it kind of just fed like, well, then I need to just keep doing this, just keep showing up and show up early and show up often.
Right.
And it'll eventually happen.
Trickle down. Yes.
Yeah.
It's contagious.
And
Some things are contagious, and that's one of
yeah.
those sayings.
Yeah.
If they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. And positivity and happiness. If you're happy, you're going to be 30 to 40% more productive.
Yeah, I think so. Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a great time. I hope to do this more often, and hopefully we will keep in touch and
Yeah,
speak a lot more often.
right. Appreciate that. You take care.
Okay, thank you.